with Hayden and Pieter. But we've come into this area now and we've been tracking a big male leopard. We don't know what male leopard it is, but it definitely is in Mvula's territory. And it's hard to mistake his track with another full-grown male leopard. It's an enormous track. Where we are right now in the bush, we don't have any tracks. His tracks came off of a path and are leading in this direction, but we're going to follow some logic that we've developed over the years. Big male leopard of the size that Mvula is and of the size of this male leopard is quite often move from termite mound to termite mound. All we're going to be doing is we're going to be going and doing exactly the same thing. We'll be moving from termite mound to termite mound in the direction that the last tracks went in, and we're going to see if we can pick up anything. Right.
Well, back from the walk, quick hello there. Tricky sometimes the walk in terms of technical things, so glad we could get back to you quick. Sorry, I'm looking at hyena. Just as I'm speaking, I saw this movement. I was going to say glad to get you back here, but there's a hyena in the back here. Just walking, different hyena from the one earlier, definitely a different hyena, bigger, fuller belly, older as well. The one that was with us a few minutes ago was definitely a bit younger, and again, this hyena I don't think has seen this leopard. We just spoke about this. Yeah, this one has not seen it yet. So I was listening to the game drive radios there, but this hyena is still looking around. I know it's a bit tricky here, the thick bush, but has not seen the leopard yet, so it's just picked up on the scent. But that's my point exactly. Here's a hyena. It's got better sense of smell, better eyesight, better hearing than we do, and yet it walked past within 20 yards of a leopard riding in the tree without seeing it. It just shows you again, always be alert, always be aware in the bush, and even more so when you're on foot. It's one of the great things about walking. It's just that heightened sensitivity to surroundings. This hyena is coming right in towards us now. I'm going to wait for it to come out behind those branches, but straight line between us and the hyena. A little bit up from that line, you've got a leopard sitting in the tree, right in close proximity to each other here. The hyena still hasn't seen the leopard. There's the leopard. Smelling it, the hyena knows there's something, but doesn't know where. Just off to the side, you know. That side there. But even that height, if you look at, we had two males, Mishon and Duna, also young males from Karula. And one of them had the tail tip snipped off, so the tail hanging there, the hyena jumped and grabbed the tail tip and just plucked it off. That sort of last inch or so. So they have to be alert. Alright, well, just try and see that hyena. Yeah, can't see much of it, it's right behind the bush from it, but I can see a little bit from where I'm sitting. The hyena is actually lying flat down now in the little hollow there, so deciding just to take it easy, wait it out, see what happens. Maybe something drops out of the tree. I still don't think that hyena has actually seen the leopard, but they all seem pretty relaxed, settling down for the morning. If anything happens, we're going to get you back here, but for now we can get you back with Stefan on the ground, so enjoy being on foot.
Welcome back to the bushwalk, folks, and terribly sorry about cutting away from us like that. Isn't it amazing that we can be on a walk in the middle of the Kruger National Park where we are at the moment at Djuma Private Game Reserve, and you can be joining us, but things aren't always perfect, and with the equipment that we've got, we sometimes lose you, and thank you very much for your patience though. So while we were walking through here, we're tracking a male leopard this morning, just for those of you who have just joined us, and we've moved into the bush a bit deeper from where you just lost us. And now we're just going to take some time to stop and listen to the bush around us. I have heard a squirrel calling just off to my right-hand side. We're going to give some time to that squirrel. They sometimes call for nothing more than their shadows. So we're going to see if it picks up in intensity. And while we're doing that, I'm going to try really hard to show you the home of a jumping spider. Now, jumping spiders, or the salticids, are perfect fly hunters, and this is the home of one. And if you look very carefully inside there, you'll actually see him or her living inside there. We're going to try and get it close for you. It is difficult, but we're going to see if we can get it for you, and you'll have a look at the little eyes. You'll notice that the eyes jump out at you as soon as it's inside. It's a little jumping spider that's inside the home. Now, he or she has made their house by pulling these grass together and then spinning it up with some silk, and she'll live inside there, and from this home will be hunting flies. So I hope you got to see that. It is a difficult thing to get, but in any case, we're going to carry on. We're going to go towards where we heard that squirrel calling, and we're going to see what else is there. We've got a lot of elephant sign, as you can see over there. It's fairly fresh. Elephant have been frequenting this area. It's not from today or yesterday, but I'm seeing variety of different ages of dung around. It's a good thing to keep your eye open here in an area like this for elephant. You don't want to bump into an elephant herd on foot. They're one of the more dangerous things to get. I'll show you what we're standing by here just to listen some more. This is where that squirrel was calling from. And while we're doing that, I just want to show you where these elephants have been digging out the roots of this tree. It's a combretum, and they enjoy eating combretum roots. Now, as we move into the dry season, elephants will go from eating mainly grass, looking at 70% or so of their diet made up of grass in the summertime, to about 70%, 80% of their diet made up of grass in wintertime. And this elephant has dug out a root and then walked off into the shade to eat it. And as you can see, not the entire root is eaten, just the root bark is eaten. That's where most of the nutrients of the root is kept. I've only really seen elephant utilize entire roots when the root itself has got a lot of water in it. This one obviously doesn't, but it does hold some nutritional value, and the elephant would have put it into its mouth and then, using its molars in a rolling action, would have stripped off all the bark of the root. And as you can see, gave it a good chew as well, just to loosen up those last few. But very effective. There's not a little bit of root left on this bark left on this entire root. Incredible. Let's carry on. So following our logic from a bit earlier, we want to try and head from termite mound to termite mound. We've just passed one where the squirrel was making a call. I can see another termite mound in the distance. That one's a bit small though. We're going to carry on in this direction. Basically just following the vector of where these tracks were last leading us. There's a nice big tree in the distance. Looks like something that a leopard might go and sit under. All the time just scanning the bush around us, making sure that we're looking far, middle, and near. So, Ellen, we have a question from you in Arkansas. Firstly, welcome, and I'm glad that I can help you answer it. The question is, how is it different to us walking on foot with a leopard to a vehicle? It's quite a complex answer, that. But basically, in a nutshell, the comfort zones of animals are much more increased with people on foot. Man on foot has been in constant competition for animals with food and with space since, the last 200,000 years or so. And animals see us as a threat. In a vehicle, for the last 60 years or so, man has done nothing except for just watch these animals, taking some photos with a camera. And so animals' comfort zones with a vehicle shrink. They're a lot more tolerant of vehicles. We haven't been in, it's thousands of generations of persecution by man, and has led animals to have a natural mistrust. One of the Earth's most successful predators, and because of that, we have a reputation for being quite nasty. However, in a reserve like this, where we don't do any hunting, where there's no hunting and there hasn't been any hunting of animals for a long time, I have seen that the comfort zones of animals have started to shrink, and we can start experiencing animals on foot. It's not uncommon, just like this morning, for us to view a leopard on foot and then follow it a little bit down the road with the animal virtually relaxed and carrying on with its day. That, 20, 25 years ago was unheard of. You just saw flashes of color through the bush, and that was it, unless you were, of course, cornering a leopard or you got it stuck in a tight place, in which case they can get quite dangerous. But the short answer is, as long as you maintain that respect of an animal's space, there's not much difference to an animal on foot or an animal in the vehicle. You can just get a lot closer in the vehicle. Animals trust vehicles a lot more than they trust people on foot. But what I did want to show you here is I found, as I was walking past this log, an egg case. So I found it in the broken down piece of the stump, and from the shape, I can only say that it's a monitor lizard, a very big type of lizard. For those of you around the world familiar with the Komodo dragons, it looks like a mini Komodo dragon. This is probably from the white-throated or bushveld monitor. And what they've gone and done is buried the eggs under the stump, or in a hole in the stump. And this stump is full of termites, and termites generate heat, and heat is actually what incubates these eggs. So what's happened is the monitor lizard has buried the eggs inside the stump, which is full of termites. The termites themselves incubate the eggs unknowingly, because just by their day-to-day business, everything is warm. And the eggs then take a year to incubate and hatch, and then the babies dig themselves out. And we got all of that from this little egg case here. Quite interesting as we've been walking along. Let's carry on going. Catherine in Texas has just asked a nice question that I'm sure you're all wondering about. Firstly, I'd just like to say hello, Catherine. And the question is, do we ever come across poisonous snakes while we're walking in the bush? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You bump into poisonous snakes, not all the time. It's more common in summertime than in wintertime. Generally though, Catherine, it's not something that I really concern myself over. You give snakes space, they'll give you space. You know, I've never been hunted by a snake or stalked by a snake. And generally they give you a warning. The African snakes will either hiss at you or make a noise. Some of them can even rasp their scales together. They generally let you know that they're there. You give them some space and you have a look at them, they carry on with their day and you carry on with yours. So not too much of a problem out here. That being said, snakes are responsible for the most deaths in Africa, you know, from large animals. And I'm not talking about malaria or sickness like, you know, any of the waterborne sicknesses, but snakes definitely do kill a lot of people. But not something that I've concerned myself over. David in Chicago. Hi David, hope you're well. David in Chicago has asked if there's any edible fruits on the trees where we are. At this time of the year, David, the answer to that is no. There's no edible fruits this time of the year. Most of the edible fruits we start seeing most of the edible fruits from about September all the way through to about February, March. After that, everything basically goes into hibernation, into sleep, and we don't get any more edible fruits. But the fruits that are here, that are edible, are generally quite sweet. Marula is quite a sweet. Sour plum is now the exception I'm thinking about. But generally they're quite sweet. Good tasting fruit. Nothing bigger than about that. That's about the biggest fruit that you get. There are monkey oranges that are a little bit bigger, but I still can't identify properly which are the best tasting monkey oranges. To me they all taste bitter and I don't enjoy them. Thanks for that question, David. Another termite mound there, but we've missed that one. I'm just busy scanning for more termite mounds. We're still walking in generally the same direction that we saw the last tracks. I'm walking on a bit of a game path, but there's no tracks on this game path that I've seen. So now I'm just heading big trees, big termite mounds, in the direction that we last saw the tracks of that male leopard, and keeping my ears open for anything giving alarm calls, from squirrels through to birds, through to mammals like kudu. And there's a big termite mound. Let's go and see that one. It's a giant of a termite mound. And for those of you who were watching yesterday afternoon, you would have seen Mvula actually walking from termite mound to termite mound. Let's go and see what we can see. Got a big hole in this termite mound. I'm just going to say to Scott we're not going to stand directly in its way, but I will show you the hole. That's an excavation of some sort. Doesn't look like it's in use. I can't see any fresh tracks going in there. makes holes like this in the side of termite mounds? Aardvark or ant bear is generally what makes holes like this. They dig into termite mounds to eat the termites, and then the holes that they dig, foraging holes they dig, are then further excavated by warthog and by hyena and by a whole myriad of other animals. So they definitely are the builders of the home builders of the animal world. Everything else uses their holes and then excavates it further, renovates it at least. This one doesn't have anything in, but definitely is the type of place that a big male leopard in this area would like to come and visit. I've even watched some leopards lying on top of termite mounds the entire day waiting for warthog to come out. So our game plan is still solid. And go right ahead. Just heard on the radio that Pete has got something special for you that he's been looking for a while. So we're going to go back to Pete, and Scott and I are going to carry on with the walk, and we'll catch up in a little bit. Enjoy it.
Guys, welcome back this side. It's been quite a morning. Also just trying to find who's where doing what. We've been very lucky that a lot of it happened just in this area. There's another game drive vehicle, as you can see. That's Andrew from Cheetah Plains. And remember right in the beginning this morning, Stefan and Scott and Brent and Stefan that you were just on the walk with, they tracked and found a leopard, and we were very excited. Then we lost the leopard. They went into thick stuff. We later learned that it's because there were wild dogs around, and the leopard was found again. So we're going to show you. We must just find a way in ourselves for now. I think this could work. They did find both, but Shadow has left subsequently. The mother has moved on, so we've just got the cub here, that young male that's going to get his WildEarth name on Sunday during the fireside chat on Mother's Day. So great to see him. I think with a little bit of luck, we're going to have a beautiful view of him if he stays where he is. Oh wow, young leopard, stunning. Look at that. It's about as good as it gets. See the game drive vehicle in the back as well, also loving this. Beautiful. I think we're going to be spoilt. We're going to be left alone here. His mother caught up with him this morning. They moved the area or changed location from where they were earlier. She's probably going to leave him this area again. There's a little drainage line not too far. But he's also not a baby anymore. He's now about 7 months old, so he'll be moving around a bit and maybe practicing the sort of the early development of his hunting skills and what young animals are best at, just being curious and maybe having a bit of fun. But at the same time, he knows that he must stick around this area because Mum will find him again and she will take him to the food. Now, yesterday morning we found them very lucky on the remains of an impala kill. And I don't think she's made a kill during the night, otherwise she would have taken him there. So it means she's gone off hunting again. And we will try and follow this story again. Maybe the hunt happens today. It's nice and overcast. She could hunt into the day as well. Maybe tonight. But that's all in the future. For now, we are just very spoiled, sitting in the middle of the bush on a lovely cool morning here in South Africa with one of the most mystical and beautiful animals that you will ever see on an African safari. The leopard. And not just a leopard, a cub at that. How special is that? thinking about. You get the sense that he's a little bit lost in thought at the moment. Asking if Shadow's been, or if this cub has been waiting here while Shadow was away early on. Let me just sort of put that into context again. When we found them this morning, when Stefan and them found Shadow to start with, she was on her own, and then luckily, because we'd followed her yesterday and in the morning I'd stayed with her until they settled down, we knew where the cub was, so we went straight there, and we were very lucky that we caught them there as they met up. So she collected the cub again to move area, possibly. At the time I thought maybe to take him to food, but we've now learned that that wasn't the case. And we were following them along, and then again we learned a little bit later, once we found the wild dogs, we realized that the wild dogs actually influenced them to turn their sort of direction they were heading in. Then they were found again still together. So from this morning, sort of 6:30 or so, when they met up, they were together until just recently, maybe 15 minutes ago. They've changed the area a little bit, not that far. We're 500-600 yards from where they, maybe a bit further than that, 800-900 yards from where they were early morning. And then she's left him here again, and she's now moved on again. Now, one of the game drivers followed her for a bit, and then they couldn't keep up, but she has left. So basically, she's leaving him here so that she can go hunt or do what she needs to do. And then she will fetch him again, most likely this afternoon or early evening if she's successful. Possibly during the day, you never know. I mean, opportunity could be, fortune can smile on her, and she maybe gets a hunt this morning even. Curious cat. And now you're just wondering, how does Shadow inform the cub that she wants to go hunt? In other words, how does she make that clear that she's going to be moving along? You know, I think there's various ways of doing it. I mean, they communicate with each other. It's like us humans, you know, they always say 80+%. I've read different statistics over the years, but 80%, 90%, 85, 95, anything in that region. But the majority of our communication is not actually just what we say. So much of our communication is how we say it, the tone in the voice, the movement of everything from your hands and your body to even just how you blink, and the little subtle messages that you send with facial expressions, things that we don't even consciously realize. Now that's us humans, and being humans, we should be able to understand each other better than we can understand, for instance, leopard or elephant. The point that I'm trying to get to, Renee, is that there's so much communication between a mother and her cub that I don't think we'll ever be able to understand 100%. That, you know, she could pass messages on to him in so many ways, just by the way the tail flicks or maybe sort of moves, or the body language, or the way she looks at him, the expression. You can imagine with a face like that, all those lines and stripes and spots. The expressiveness of that face is way beyond what we could understand. So there's lots of communication that I'm sure we don't necessarily register or see. Doesn't mean it's not there. And then at other times I've also seen it where they just move along with the cub, and then they're just suddenly gone. And the cub, almost as if instinctively, knows that it should stay around there then. I'm not going to say that I know the answer to that. I think it's a combination of many things. But what I do know, and what I can say, is that communication is such an interesting field. It's something that we're still learning about as humans. At the moment, I'm learning a lot about early development of humans. Having a little boy at home, and a girl, and my wife is a voracious reader. Reads a lot of things about many things and in depth, and the learning curve of young animals, in this case humans, that we understand fairly well, being one ourselves. It is amazing what little kids can learn, in their first weeks and first months of being a young human, or a young leopard for that matter. It is simply astounding. I mean, we're still learning about it ourselves, and we're relatively well developed now scientifically, so I don't think we can even begin to imagine the communication and the learning curve between mother leopard and cub. But I'm sure it is just as intricate and just as amazing and just as special as the learning curve between babies and their human parents. That is. Hello, Jennifer. I like the rhythm and the rhyme of where you're from. Jennifer is from St. Louis, Missouri. Very valid question. One showing both understanding and concern as well for these animals. Just wondering, is this leopard big enough or smart enough or experienced enough now to know what to do if other predators came along? That wild dog pack that we saw this morning, that were literally 40 or 50 yards from where the leopards took their turn into the bush, they are still close by. They could be running through here any minute. The hyena clan, as we know, not far away from here. But this cub by now should be pretty safe. 7 months old. He's big enough now, smart enough now, strong enough, quick enough, balanced enough to be able to avoid predators like that. Now, he's not right next to a big tree where we are now, but even just the sort of medium-sized trees around us here, he would be able to climb and scamper up that if need be. His first prize, obviously, being so well camouflaged, would be to try and avoid being detected by other predators. But should that happen, he'd be up in a tree in a flash. So again, you never know what could happen, but he's every day that he's getting bigger now, he's getting safer and safer from other predators, both because he's getting more experienced, so he knows how to handle himself better, but also because he's just getting quicker and faster and stronger and all of those things. I think this guy's got a very good chance of being Shadow's first successfully reared cub into adulthood. A general sort of mixed bushveld setting here we've got. I was just looking next to me, Brian. I don't know if you could see this. I might have to pick the leaf, but if you can see it, I'd prefer not to move it. Can you see that, or is that just over the edge? Oh, great, we can see it. Look there on the leaf. This is from a large fruited bush willow, one of the combretums. And apart from the hole in it, which I'm sure you noticed, but look at the water on there. This is still from the, you could almost go as far as calling it heavy dew, but it was light rain early this morning around 4 o'clock our time, and just a soft drizzle. Actually it was a bit later, maybe closer to 4:30, something like that. Just enough to have sort of moistened the dust again, make the smells nice and fresh, and lots of little bits of water around like this. Nothing enough for animals to drink from, but certainly for little insects and birds and things like that. All life appreciates water. That we know. Well, it's just while we're sitting with the lazy leopard, worst things to do. But just thinking forward to this weekend. We're really looking forward to this weekend. We've got 2 exciting drives coming up, Friday and Saturday. Saturday and Sunday. Today would be Friday already. But Saturday and Sunday, got a vehicle going past the back here if you hear some noise. Saturday and Sunday we've got the drives. They'll be slightly different, the leopard having a look as well. Slightly different from the normal ones in that they will be 2.5 hours long, the game drive, and half an hour fireside chat right at the end of it, from 5:30 to 6. Now I'm looking forward to that immensely. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be a busy fireside chat with lots of things happening, great things for you to see as well. Do make sure you don't miss it. It's going to be stunning. HD and myself and Stefan looking forward to it. Everyone actually looking forward to it. So don't miss it. We're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to look at a few things. It's going to be fun. We're going to sort of give our thoughts on a certain few things, which will be interesting as well. There's going to be the reveal of this guy's name. We've had lots of options coming in. We don't know which one we're going to choose yet. You can still send ones in as well. On Sunday, we're going to give him his WildEarth name. And you can take part in this as well. But because it's going to be so quick with so many things happening, we want to make sure that we pick a few of those questions beforehand. It's not going to be questions that are going to be answered. It's not going to be, what does an elephant weigh? And we're going to say, 10 pounds. It's more just a discussion, sort of a general talk around certain concepts or ideas. And we'd love to get your questions from that, or for that. Please, with the questions, when you send them in, hashtag Safari Live for a tweet. Maybe for this it's even better if you email it in. Mail it to questions@wildearth.tv. Please remember to add into the question your name, where you're from. Maybe even give us an idea if you've been coming on many game drives or maybe just a few. But the questions, you can really go into something sort of a bit more in depth. As I said, we're not looking for a question that's going to have a straightforward answer. We're not going to ask what is 5 plus 5 and we're going to say it's 10 and that's done. We're looking more at like a sort of a mathematical equation. What is the relative possibility of mass? That would be interesting math sum for that question. If you know what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is feel free to ask questions that you would like to get an understanding or an explanation or a conversation from. One of the things that came up, and it's actually a question that came up amongst ourselves, so if someone hasn't asked it, maybe this is your opportunity to grab it and get your question on the fireside chat. But we were wondering, and it's a simple enough thing, but once we started talking about it, we actually realized there's a lot more to it. We were wondering, for instance, when Karula lost that cub. Now, Karula has been an extremely successful leopard at raising cubs. And she's got a percentage of raising cubs which is well high above the average success rate. And we were wondering the other day why she didn't make more of an effort, perhaps, to defend the cubs against the hyenas when they took that cub. And once we discussed it, we thought that could actually be one of the great questions. So if you haven't sent one in, you could maybe grab that one. And then also just general questions relating to the interspecies competition of the apex predators. Now let me break that sentence down a bit. The interspecies competition would be between different species, mainly or often hyenas in this case because they are in this area, but them with wild dogs, them with leopard, them with lion, and vice versa, leopard with lion, leopard with dogs, etc. We just had that question earlier from, when you asked what would happen if those predators came through here. So any questions around that, conceptual questions would be great. We are also going to talk about motherhood, wild parenting, mother nature, animals rearing their young, and maybe also the relationship of young towards their mothers on Sunday, because Sunday is Mother's Day after all, and I have said this. One thing we all have in common is we all have a mother, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So we can certainly relate to that. Many of you are mothers, many of you are grandmothers, maybe even a few great-grandmothers here. And the older you get, the wiser you get, the better you understand how these things are all connected. So any questions or thoughts or theories around wild parenting, the relationship of mother, parent even, and young and vice versa. Please send those in as well. Guys, we are looking for multiple questions. We're not just going to have one question. We're looking for at least sort of 3 or 4 questions, and then depending on how long the discussion goes, we'll get to a few of them during the time we're going to be doing that. The other thing that I thought was a great one, and we saw the beginning of it. Actually, Brian and myself just earlier on the drive were talking about it again, and then the sort of the great part of it was with Hayden on drive, and that's the wild dogs. I think it was as I said, my days blur a bit into each other, but the second or third day or so earlier on, we had the great surprise in the morning where we found the hyenas chasing the wild dogs, and then later on the reverse of that, and beautiful visuals. I know that's a question that might have popped up for a few people. In other words, what determines, or how does it work that some animals are more dominant than other animals amongst your apex predators, amongst your sort of big 5 or big 4 of the predators in this case, in our area, which would be lion, leopard, the 2 big cats, wild dog, and hyena. And what determines who's dominant over who? How does that work? Anyway, those are the type of questions. Anything you can think of. That's why we're asking you is, so often I've experienced personally that I gain new understandings or new insights into what I'm experiencing around me, that I suddenly get a new door opened or a new window opened into nature for my own understanding by getting great questions from you guys. And that's the beauty of conversation. That's the beauty, one of the beauties at least, of being human, is that we can conceptualize ideas, ask the question, make the comment, have a conversation, and at the end of it, all parties could have gained something in that conversation. And I'm looking forward to that experience around the fire with Hayden, Stefan, both great guys with great information, with great experience, even more importantly, and with great understanding of what we're doing here and how we fit into this bigger picture of what is spectacular wild nature around us. And the only thing missing in that one, as I said, I'm looking forward to talking to Hayden and Stefan, is we're looking for great questions from you guys, because you're going to be part of that conversation. In fact, you're going to determine some of that conversation by sending us questions. So please help us. We are still looking for more, and it's going to be great. So don't miss it. Saturday, 5:30 our time. That would be 11:30 Eastern time or 8:30 Western time. For the last half an hour of the drive, it's going to be a very fun, very enjoyable fireside chat. I'm excited. Don't miss it. It will also be put out there for you. We'll make sure that you know when it is and what it is. So, yeah, I think I made my point there. This leopard is nice and relaxed. He's got the day to wait for Mum. No rush. Well, what a way to end the drive. A couple of minutes left, and this leopard seems to be very happy, very comfortable. I mean, that's the sort of equivalent of a lazy boy, I guess, for a leopard. Looks a bit like you earlier up in the tree. Susan. Hello, Susan. Hoe gaan dit? Hoop het gaan goed. Susan's from Holland, so she would have understood some of what I just said. Afrikaans is not too different from Dutch. Susan's just wondering about the ears of the leopard. Are the spots on the ears unique to them as well? And I would go as far as to say that every spot on every leopard would be unique to that leopard. Because, I mean, for one spot to be in context, you'd have to compare it to another spot next to it. And there's not going to be one leopard in the world that has exactly the same spots as another leopard. It's just too unlikely. It's a bit like fingerprints. I used to always think that you talk about this unique patterns on leopard, or that zebra, for instance. We saw some zebra tracks this morning. That zebras all have unique stripes. Now we're about 7 billion people and counting, and we've got unique fingerprints. What's he seeing? Maybe just stretching. Okay, we're going to get a little bit of a walking around. Where's he going now? Find a new spot. Maybe he's going to go closer to a bigger tree. Find a better place to hide. Fantastic. For the last little bit of the drive, we're going to see him active. Just to us. How brilliant is that? Where are you going? He's not stalking, but he does look a little bit curious. I think he's just heading over somewhere better to wait for the rest of the day. While he's busy going into the bush there, we are going to stay here a few minutes longer after we say goodbye, just to see where he ends up, so that we can try and find him again this afternoon. HG would love to see this guy as well. But for now, from myself, Pieter Pretorius, thank you so much for joining us. It was a lovely morning, lots of excitement. Brian,
Thanks,
great on camera, guys. Everyone that's part of this team, it's awesome. See you this afternoon.